What is up, everyone? It's your boy Joe from Get Good Drums. Today I'm going to answer a question that I've seen pop up on the Facebook forum a couple times. And that question is, can you tune the drums of your One Kit Wonder libraries? Now, our One Kit Wonder libraries do not have the individual tuning option like the P4 library does. But that doesn't mean you can't tune your drums. So I've gone and programmed this really simple little beat here just to show you what I'm talking about. So let's listen to that quickly. Cool. So you may think there's a tune knob up here. So can't you just use that? Well, I'll show you what happens if we do. It tunes the whole kit, which isn't what we want. So let's just say for this, we're going to tune the snare drum up. Now, some of these steps are things I've shown you in tutorials before, but I don't think it's a bad thing to show you again because people are still asking. So a feature of Kontakt that I think is often really overlooked, and it's a really powerful feature, is the ability to stack libraries. It's easy to kind of slip into this mindset of thinking of one instance of Kontakt for one sample library, but it's not the case at all. You can pick any library in your library and stack them. So let's take Analog Dreams and pop it under Metal. This is, I mean, it's not going to sound good. And then you want to change the MIDI channels so they match. This is on MIDI channel A1. This is to Omni. Omni reads all the MIDI channels, so it will read A1. And look. Obviously, not the best of sounds, but it shows you what I'm talking about. You can stack libraries to your heart's content. So now this means that we can stack another instance of One Kit Wonder Metal, isolate the snare drum and tune it up, and then you've tuned your snare drum up, or you can start mixing in different kits, like the well-known Misha Mansour Franken kit. That's what he does. So I'm going to show you how to do it with One Kit Wonder. For this, I am going to just use another instance of One Kit Wonder Metal. I'm going to get rid of the outputs down here to get some more space, and we're just running this in a stereo instance, so I don't need to route anything. Ooh, I said route. Oh, it's rubbing off on me. We don't need to route anything. Now, the first thing you want to do, which is easy to forget, is to get them reading the same MIDI channel. What's a MIDI channel? Basically, you can assign MIDI notes to different MIDI channels. So if you want a library to only trigger on a certain set of MIDI notes on the same track, you'd set a bunch to MIDI channel 1. So like, let me show you what I mean actually quickly. Let's get rid of that and load up Modern Fusion. Why not? I'm going to set this to read, actually it should do it by default. Yeah, so this is on MIDI channel 2, this is on MIDI channel 1. I'm going to leave these notes as MIDI channel 1. Hop over here into the, is it here? I always get mixed up. Events, here we are. And change these to MIDI channel 2. So now the first half of this groove is going to trigger from One Kit Wonder Metal, and the second from Modern Fusion. So that's another useful little tip if you ever run into a situation where you need to utilize something like that. But let's go back to just 2 instances of Metal. Now we're not trying to split up MIDI to trigger different parts or whatever. We want it all to sound like one kit. So I'm going to go and click this I on the second library and change it to Omni. So with the current settings, these are both going to trigger at the same time, which doesn't achieve what we're after. And now this is where the good stuff starts to occur. So we're going to go into Mixer on the top library. This top library is going to act as the main kit, and the second library down here is going to just be for the snare drum. So I'm going to go up here, and we don't want the snare drum in this library, so I'm just going to go yeet! And it's gone. Let's just check. Sounds like it's out to me. I'm gonna unmute this baby. Go in here and pull down everything except the snare drum, because we only want the snare drum triggering from this library. I'm actually going to pull down overhead and room 2, because we don't want the rest of the kit bleeding through. We've got plenty of that in the overhead and rooms as well. We've still got the snare drum in this as well. And we're not going to be tuning it drastically. So to me, the difference in tuning from the close mic on the snare and the room sounds and overhead sounds, it's not going to be much of a difference to me, so I'm not bothered about it. Now, so we've got all of the kit apart from the snare drum in the top one triggering, and none of the kit apart from the snare drum triggering the second one. So it sounds normal, right? We've essentially got 2 kits split to mimic the one default kit. So this is where we can now, because we've isolated the snare drum in the second library, use this tuning knob to change the tuning. And we can, of course, use this technique to change the tuning of any part of the kit if we want. Say we want to change the kick tuning. We'll pull down the snare, bring up the kick, and then take the kick out of the main library and put the snare back up. Say I want to tune it down. Up. So as you can see, it leads to all sorts of ways you can morph the kits to suit your desires more. Now, with great power comes great responsibility, as Uncle Ben once said. So I should give a little bit of a caveat that this tuning knob is not sort of accessing some secret samples that where we tuned the drums differently and recorded it. It's literally just applying Kontakt's own tuning algorithm to the sample. So you're gonna want to be careful in how far you push it, because if you go too far, things get a little weird. As you hear with this, like, that doesn't sound like you've just tuned up drums. It sounds weird. But if you just sort of stay within the 1 to 2 semitones range, I find that you can get some really cool and really usable results. What other kits can I use quickly to show you? So, as I said, you can use this technique to create franking kits super easy. So let's get the architects. Let's pull architects in. This is a good one because for this library, this snare's tuned pretty low. But it's super beefy. So I want the beef, but just tuned up higher a little bit. So we're going to isolate the snare drum. We're going to change the MIDI channel to match. Get it to Omni so it's reading all of them. So currently, sounding pretty cool. Let's try 2 semitones. Bit too high for me. And you can apply this to toms and even some cymbals if you want. Like if you find, I don't know, the China in aggressive rock to be a bit too low tuned, you can pull it in and tune it up a bit. There you're going to have to start thinking about the mapping as well, because you can't isolate the individual cymbals. So you're going to want to take away all the mapping from the second instance and make sure only the China is mapped, and then do the same on, well, the opposite on the first library where you take away the China mapping so that it only triggers in the second library. But this gives you all sorts of ideas, all sorts of cool ways you can expand your libraries, alter them, make them more unique, or just completely mess them up and create something really weird, which is fun. So I hope you found that useful and informative. Make sure to pop over to our Facebook forum at facebook.com/groups/ggd forum and head over to our website at getgooddrums.com to pick up any of these libraries that you fancy. Okay, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.